0-0 and with a few chances missed, were you worried, or did you always feel during that like you were playing well enough to go on and win it?
I'm not sure if you ever played well enough, to be honest, especially when you don't score. And you can imagine our situation. It's not that we sit in the dressing room and think, all good. We will score, but the plan was to keep going, do the same stuff again, and because Sheffield, in the moments when we played exactly how we wanted to play, they couldn't deal with us. Then we arrived pretty much alone in front of the goalie, but Ramsdale played an incredible game, had a few outstanding saves, Adrian as well, a very early one. And when you know that Sheffield United lost a lot of games in that year, of course, but all with the smallest margin you can get, and it's clear that these games stay exciting until the end. And we first half we should have scored 3 times, I think. Then we scored 2 goals, and I think Robbo could have had a hat-trick tonight, pretty much. So that just shows how we created was really good. And the finishing was then in the end good enough for today, but we know we can improve that still.
Were there improvements on what you've seen in the past few weeks?
I told you before this game, it's like I get it 100% that people. It's normal and right that we get criticized, but if it's just about the performance, that makes it so tricky. It makes it so tricky that we cannot fight like other teams, just standing deep, let them come, and then try to have a counter attack. That's not how we can get back on track. We have to keep being dominant, and we have to deal with the situation, with disappointments in a game, with frustration in a game, that you miss a chance in the first half. Where in other games we maybe would have reacted differently, but tonight we just stayed on track, kept playing, and scored in the right moment. That always helps.
What did you make of Curtis Jones' influence? And obviously scored one, had a hand in the second goal, and he does feel like a player that when he's in that midfield, he does add to your creativity and your goal threat. Yeah.
Top player, no doubt about that. That's why he was playing. So, and tonight, yes, it was very important. We had a lot of talks about it. He has to be more being involved in goal-scoring situations as well. That's clear. And there he has, like everywhere, space for improvement. So tonight he was involved. That's good.
Liverpool. Fascinating, Michael, to hear Jurgen Klopp talk about the way they've responded to the criticism and the way Liverpool play there.
I love the way he answered that question, yeah. And that when Liverpool are struggling, everyone says, Liverpool, what plan B? Well, they haven't really. They always play the same way. They might tweak it. It might be 2 sitters and 1 in front in the midfield, or 1 and 2. But really, they play 3 up front every time, same players. They play 4 at the back they play the same way, and they've got the same way of imposing themselves on a game. And I've never really seen them sit back. The game that we watched earlier with Manchester United and Chelsea, they've got a couple of different ways to play. They can sit back and play in the counter, whereas Liverpool, they've built their success on high pressing, high energy, taking the game to their opponents. So they can't really fall back on anything apart from keep aiming for the stars. And they've been falling short lately, but today they got, somewhere near back to their best.
He was talking about Curtis Jones there. You said earlier on that he's probably suffered a little bit since Thiago came into the team. It's a big subject on the lips of Liverpool supporters at the moment. 10 Premier League starts for Liverpool because of injury. That's only his 3rd win. Where are you as a former midfield player on his performances, where he should play and how he's gone into that indifferent Liverpool team?
Look, I don't think his performances have been outstanding or really bad the other way either. I think he's a player, for me, who has to play central. The way Liverpool play with the 3 midfield, I don't think he's got great legs about him. So that central role will suit him down to the ground. Once you're in one of them wider positions in the middle 3, it's very difficult to get around the pitch because he's not that type of player. He's not someone who's going to be running out to a left back, running out to a right back. It's just not his game. He needs to be sat in the middle, controlling things, bringing players into play, and that's what he's good at. We've seen some really good passes here, some really clever passes. He's not quite at the ground running, as we'd say, but we all know with the quality he's got, obviously the quality at Barcelona, the quality at Bayern Munich, he brings to a team. He does bring control to a team. I just wonder if this way of playing that Liverpool play is suited to his style of football.
Joe, I'm fascinated to know your opinion. You've played in there. You said before the game you're a big fan of his as a technician.
Yeah, for sure. I think you have to put an asterisk on him, but Scholes is right in that he ain't been outstanding. He hasn't been terrible either, but he's been injured, you know, and he's come to a new country, so give him time. He's gone into a team that last year was a well-oiled machine. This year, for various reasons, it's not really happening. So he's coming into a difficult situation. What I think he brings to the Liverpool side is obviously his technical ability, but at Barcelona and Bayern Munich, the game passed through the midfield in a slower way, almost the way Liverpool play. It's into the field, and then as soon as he goes into the front three, they turn and they go at you. So he's probably going to end up getting less touches of the ball. I can see why Jurgen and why everyone was so excited with him coming through the door, but it's almost as if they play with that free, like, not dogs of war, because that's unfair on your Hendersons and Wijnaldums and Fabinho's, but they're athletic and they cover ground and they win second balls and they recycle things. Thiago is traditionally, he's in a slower build-up, like a Tuchel, you know, in that sort of way you can have lots of touches, over 100 passes a game. So, for me, he's something different that was added on what was like a well-oiled machine. The machine's broken down this year and he's trying to find his role within the squad, within the team, and he will get there because of his quality, no doubt. But it's not suiting him at the moment where Liverpool move the ball so quick and they basically get it, they shift it to the front three and then they're off. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, it hasn't worked out so far, but there's no doubt he will come good.
I'm fascinated to know about the bigger picture. Just say everybody was fit at the moment. Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Thiago. What does Jurgen Klopp do? What do you do?
In a one-off game, I think you probably revert to type because you revert to what you... how you
bigger
won the
picture, he
Champions
hasn't
League.
just arrived for... I mean, he signed a 4-year contract, so...
OK, so if you're going through a league season, then he'll definitely play his part, and
Where?
probably a big part, in midfield, against the lesser
No, but in
teams.
which position in midfield, like Paul's talking about?
Well, I think you've got to play him central, but you're then changing the dynamic of the team, where you've had ball winners, you've had wide players that have created the goals. Very different to most teams, Liverpool, in that way. So, listen, he's come into the team at the worst possible time. Everyone thinks the best possible time. World champions, European champions, Premier League champions, and then you add Thiago, everyone's cock-a-hoop. It's unbelievable news. But all of a sudden, the wheels have fallen off a little bit. So now it's possibly one of the worst times to come in. And he's struggling like the rest of the team, but it's not his fault. Now, I agree with Scholes in that he's a central midfield player. Playing out wider, you need more legs. But then if you put him in the central area, that goes against what Liverpool have based their success on over the years. And I think you can probably easily get away with it against the lesser teams when you've just got loads of possession and he's basically pulling the strings everywhere. But to answer your question, if I was one-off game now, Champions League final tomorrow, my whole squad was fit, I'd just go back to...
He doesn't play.
No, what was the best... How did we win the Champions League?
He doesn't seem a Jurgen Klopp-type player, does he? You think of the midfield players he's got and the forward players he's got, everything's 100 miles an hour. Now, if this... And you wouldn't say... When I think of Liverpool, you don't think possession team, like a Barcelona or other teams. Just keep, I thought it would have been more suited to a Manchester United team in a two midfield with a holding player, really good, strong, defensive midfield player where he can sit and control games. Anfield, Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, I don't see them controlling games. I see them going for the throat in teams. And I don't see him as that type of player. He's not got that energy to really overpower midfield players and get to the ball and pass it forward quickly. He's never been used to anything like that. I mean, he might have to adapt his game. Well, he will have to adapt his game to get into his team if all the players are fit.
And the hardest thing is, I don't know what about you, Joe, but the hardest thing I feel watching him is that he's got more talent in his little finger than virtually every midfielder in that team. He's so talented. He's one of the most talented in the world. Yet we're saying, if it was a big game tomorrow, would you play him? And I think the general answer is you'd probably go with your Hendersons, Fabinho's and Wijnaldums because that was so successful. And we know that system works. But in terms of quality, he is brilliant. There's no denying that. And I'm sure that he'll get into the team.
You have to say as well, without having the two centre-halves, the normal centre-halves, Van Dijk and Gomez, I think that would have made a big difference to him. He wouldn't have even had to contemplate going to defend. He can do everything attacking-wise because he's got such strong people at the back. So having them out is a big miss, not just to Thiago, not just the rest of the team, but to the way Liverpool are expected to play. Look, the standards they've had for the last 2 years, any kind of small drop this year, they were going to get criticised for it, as he said. But that's because the last 2 years, they've been brilliant. OK, they didn't win the league the first time, but still so many points. And obviously won the league so comfortably last year. So any drop in performances, you was always going to leave yourself open to a little bit of criticism.
Really? On second Premier League goal, first this season, did it come at the opportune moment, just before that could get nervy for you?
Yeah, you know, I think it's been a difficult time, you know, for myself and the rest of the team. But I'm happy that I got on the score sheet, and I'd like to take this time to say that this goal is for Ali's dad, actually. So may rest in peace, and if Ali sees this is for you, bro.
Well said, mate. Well said. How tough's it been for the club, around the club?
Well, you know, he's a strong lad. A big part of the team, of course. So, you know, he's not here today, but we miss him for sure. And I'd like to take this time, as I said, to dedicate my goal to him and his dad and the rest of his family.
For you personally, do you feel a bit more responsibility to get the goals? Like, it's 0-0 at half time. You're a first team player now, not a kid coming in. So it can't just be down to Mo Salah. It can't just be down to Sadio Mane.
Yeah, of course. I've always said, you know, that I'm a player that likes to assist, score goals. So I think the time's right now.
A little anxious moment when it was checked. Like Trent just saved you, hooked it back in time.
A little bit, yeah. But all in all, you know, it was a good team performance. I'm happy that we came away with in the 3 points, and we go again. How important is it that it's a turning point? During the bad run, there have been good performances. You look at Tottenham, West Ham, but this time, how important is it that you back it up? As you said then, you know, I've had good games, but we haven't scored as many goals as we'd like. But today was a good example of putting it all together. You know, it was a good performance, and I'm happy that I'm scored, and I'm happy for Bobby and the rest of the team. Well done. Well played tonight. Thank you.
It's a nice tribute there from the 20-year-old. Let's clear it up then. Ball didn't go out of play?
No, we didn't. We just stopped it on the line. We got a great camera angle as well. It's a decent enough move by Liverpool. You know, we all know how much their fullbacks are involved in the play. Trent down on the right-hand side here beats his man, and he just keeps it in play. And I love that finish. You know, if you've not got a cool head on your shoulders, you just smack that as hard as you can. But here we see the exact moment when he's played the ball, and you can quite clearly see that it's OK. Lovely finish.
Yeah, lovely finish. I mean, it was coming, weren't it? It was like Liverpool were probing. Look at the amount of bodies they've got forward. A little bit of a ricochet here. Trent, we all know this is where he's at his best. You know, Sheffield United just switched off. Just watch this second clip in a moment when Trent gets to cross him and they get the half clearance. They're just not engaged, the Sheffield United defenders here. All arms up, ball watching, not alive. And that sums up their season, really. You know, they look like a team waiting for relegation, the inevitability of it. As it drops, it's a lovely finish by, because that ain't easy, that. It's bobbling to him, and he keeps his composure, and he strikes it lovely into the bottom corner there.
And the way Liverpool's season's gone, important for other players in other areas of the pitch to find the back of the net ball.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I've always liked this lad. I think he's a really good footballer. I think he's the one that really suffered from Thiago coming back into the team in January. I saw a lot of him this December. Actually did a Wolves game, and he was brilliant. He does need to add more goals to his game, but you can see he's definitely going to be capable of doing that. And you know, if he can stay in the team, keep fit, especially, this lad will score a lot of goals and make a lot of goals.
Joe, how big a chance did Sheffield United and McBurney have to level it up, though? Yeah,
again, look, here we go. Look, they're throwing it forward. They needed to do this. They needed to make it a hustle-bustle game. You know, and this is one of the only times they got into Liverpool's final third, had decent possession. But as soon as it comes here, this lad, Norwood, just lovely cross, waited in behind. He's a lovely passer of the ball, and I feel like they've missed him when he's not been in the team. But here, they was always going to do this, set back, dropped into an area, and McBurney just gets it off target. I mean, there wasn't a lot of chances for Sheffield United, and this was one of their glimpses. But, again, I just look at them, and they look like a team. We're only just going into March, and it's like they can't wait for the season to come ahead. The polar opposite of what we saw last year, where there was energy, endeavour, and they looked like they really enjoyed playing with each other. I don't know what's gone wrong for them this year.
So Liverpool needed the second goal. They got it, and they needed some luck.
They did, yeah. I don't think this ball was going in from Firmino. I think it was just being pulled wide, and it just took a little deflection off Bryant, sent it into the back of the net. And when you're struggling in front of goal, which Firmino has been, lovely little quick feet, he jinks into a lovely position and takes a big deflection there. I almost think, in terms of the chance that we showed in the first half, when he could have waited for the goalkeeper to go down, well, he used a deflection to wait for the goalkeeper to go down this time. And he just goes down a bit too early, I think.
Yeah. There's a lot of defenders around him as well. They're all a little bit passive, the Sheffield United players. I know it's difficult to tackle inside the box, and Firmino gets his rewards because, as I said at half-time, he's been the one who's getting better than most of the chances, but he's been the most erratic as well. But, unfortunately, he's not going to get the goal.
He isn't. Strikers don't always get them, you see.
No, I would have given it him as well.
And listen...